The point is, in the old chlorine process, that was where dioxin was produced out of that system. Dioxin, if you can feature two six-sided figures, hexagons linked by two oxygens with chlorine, I call it chlorinated chicken wire. But when they were producing it years ago, if there's dioxin in the plant, this is part of what Lucy pointed out to me first, it's in pond 1. That's part of the reason for cleaning out pond 1. That is a reservoir. That reservoir holds 68,000 tons of solids.
I think you had a question.
I have a question for Lucy. I hope it's not a technical question, and hopefully the simplest question you'll get all night. Would you swim in Rice Creek or around Rice Creek?
I've swum in Rice Creek inadvertently, so, and I'm here to tell you. You know,
I know the area well. I've been swimming there and around there. I'm asking honestly.
Yeah, I
my first
understand.
child. I mean, would you swim?
I would probably not do recreational swimming in Rice Creek. However, I gotta add something to that. I've been on Rice Creek a lot, and if you've been there, you know, you see alligators, you see birds, you see turtles, you see a lot of the elements, if not all of the elements of your classical Blackwater stream in Florida. I hope that answered your question, or that I got out of it without answering it.
Yes, sir.
One is a clarifying question, the other was original. The first is, you answered that there are other pulp and paper mills that are cleaner, but are they Georgia Pacific paper mills that are cleaner? And the real other question is, if the Sierra Club was able to get an injunction further down in South Florida, why haven't we been able to do the same thing here? And what steps did they take that we could be able to reproduce to accomplish that here?
All right, in two parts, there are a lot of pulp and paper mills that are operating cleaner and some are operating dirtier.
But are they Georgia Pacific?
Not to my knowledge, all right? Not to my knowledge. My association with Georgia Pacific has been in the chemical side, methanol, formaldehyde, things like that. If you wanted to look up again, I refer you to Saskatchewan, the standard, and then look up chemical pulp and paper mills up there in the salmon fishing area, British Columbia and Saskatchewan. To me, they're the premier plants of operation, and they operate at standard. One thing I wanted to say is there are no new silks. Lucy used a great term, silver bullet. To a chemical engineer, there are no silver bullets. It's all combinations of proven technology. You know, if I'm not coming up with a laser beam in a Velveeta box. You know, all the technologies are there. It's the same as a doctor and a surgeon. He knows scalpels. He knows it's which tool to use where. That's the type of important thing to do.
And then the question about injunctions, you know, there's always a legal avenue. You know, if a draft permit is issued, it will be, you know, it can be challenged through an administrative order. It can be challenged in a federal court under the Clean Water Act. You know, from our viewpoint, we're still in a process, and we're still moving forward, hoping that, you know, we can find a solution we can all live with. You know, I'm not going to sit here and deny that we have our legal team looking at it, because I think we all have to, you know, you have to deal with all the situations. And so that's not to say that we have a suit prepared. You know, we're preparing to continue to work to try to find a solution, whatever that is.
Having been in the industrial side for years, it's much better if you can get them to sit down, which Neil has been trying to do in Lucy, to sit down and say, let's approach this logically. How do I put this? And get the proctologists out of here, you know, and solve the problem. It's solvable. I've sat in meetings, as Neil can tell you, and brought diagrams of these working plants. And they were just sloughed off.
That's one way of describing it. Yes, Karen.
I have a question about
people fishing in Rice Creek, and shrimping season starting, and one of the best places to shrimp is kind of right across the river from where it's coming out. And people take their kids in there fishing, and there's no warning signs. Do you think there should be warning signs up? I do. It smells terrible in there. I wouldn't eat anything out
Well,
there.
there's, as I mentioned, in 2002, there's a draft letter basically that says we're going to issue a fish advisory, and that was, in my opinion, again, politically stopped. I think there has been fish tissue analysis, in my opinion, that was the way it was collected and analyzed, minimized the impacts. I don't know, in Jacksonville, we just had a stream posted too here, and some different constituents, but one of the streams that some of the fish tissue saw dioxin. I mean, I think anytime you have these kind of issues, there's a potential health risk, and we are a group that wants to err on the side of caution.
If there's any sign at all, I've seen it on a contaminated stream where I said, well, okay, it was a trout stream that was contaminated in New Hampshire, and they said any trout that can live in that stream, don't piss them off.
I'd like to point out, perhaps reassure you a little bit, is that the latest, I think it was 2010 dioxin in fish report that I read showed that there are detectable levels of dioxin with fish, but they're well below public health levels of concern. There are some questions in my mind because, again, part of that lack of information about the validity of the sampling effort and some other things. But the other thing I wanted to assure you is that in our work looking at chlorophenols and other compounds up and down Rice Creek and out into the main stem, what we found is there is a declining gradient. And when you get out into the main stem around that channel marker right there at the mouth of Rice Creek in the main stem, I can't remember which channel marker it is, the levels of contaminants go way down. And part of that is because dilution. But also part of it is because the character of the sediments is very different than it is in Rice Creek. And Rice Creek has a very organic-y, very rich, type of sediment muddy sediment, I should say. And that tends to hold on to the contaminants and then make them available to the critters living in the mud, which then are eaten, etc. So when you're out into the main stem, though, that declines greatly, and we see a clear pattern of a decline in concentration of problematic compounds the further out into the main stem you go. So back to the question of swimming in Rice Creek or eating mussels in Rice Creek, I'm not so sure, but out in the main stem, the concentrations are expected to be much lower.
People fish right where the pipe comes out. You can see the boil. People fish all right around there. So I guess if you're that dumb to do that, then
You said
Yes.
that was politically stopped. How was that politically stopped?
The health advisory?
Yeah. My name is Bob Jones. I'm running for the state senate in District 1.
Yes.
Anything that I could do to help this along, I'm ready to do. I'm tired of the way they're treating the river. And I think that they're going
See what I'll do? I should have done this. I will post the letter from the DOH on our website, St. John's Riverkeeper. I was not here, but, I was told, and I know it's a fact, that, at midnight there was going to be a health advisory, and at 11:50, a call came and said there's not going to be a health advisory. And again, let me make sure you understand, what we just saw recently, that there are significant problems with
the river.
contaminants all over. I'm not suggesting that, here in Jacksonville, sadly, most of our urban streams have some issues, and there's a statewide fish advisory on mercury. Most people don't realize that from mercury coming from coal-fired generators. Yes, sir, in the blue shirt.
I'm gonna help you a little bit with your verbiage when you were in your talk. You said that.
Thank you. Sure,
No,
I could use all the help I could get.
I think you're gonna have to unholster your gun a little bit. You said, what do we want? Now, everybody sitting in this room owns that river out there.
Right, public trust.
Whether we like it or not, we own it.
Right.
Now, we're all quality people, and we demand quality rivers. Now, if you got somebody that's flooding my river, okay, they're gonna stand accountable for it, plain and simple. Because it's not what I want, it's what I demand, and it's what I'm entitled to.
Right.
It's simple as that.
Well, yes, you're right. I probably should use that verbiage. Thank you.
I've got a few bullet statements that I think
Sure.
will help you a little bit in your
Okay.
negotiation, having come from the corporate world.
Okay,
Now, this whole thing is about bucks.
absolutely.
Or GP would have handled the problem before now and became a great neighbor on the St. Johns River. My family's been here since 1896. My wife's family's been here since 1831. You can imagine the dog and pony shows that this seven generations have seen since 1831. I think this one that GP is putting on the governor and the cabinet is one of the best dog and pony shows I've seen in a long time. I wouldn't buy tickets to it, but I hope the governor will come to his senses and realize that he's the ultimate source to stop this dog and pony show.
Yes, he is.
Where has DEP been in this situation the entire time? I pay all these big bucks for all these PhDs, folks that are really supposed to be knowing what GP has been doing to Rice Creek all along. And I've been fishing in Rice Creek since 1952, and I would not eat the first shrimp out of the place. I mean, if the smell don't tell you something, logic ought to tell you something. Why has the governor and the cabinet sidestepped this issue? Why, he was just in town last Monday, and I didn't hear the first, other than Tom Wills ask him point blank, what's he gonna do about the river? Well, he can't do anything about the river until we get on GP's case, who has created the problem.
Right.
Now that we have, and we must have, and I'm sure good doctors will tell you, that we will have to have just about daily readouts on the chemical components that are coming out of that water that they are putting back into the river. And until we charge them with the responsibility of making my water clearer than what you took it out of the river, and tell me exactly, just like I do with my blood work every year when I get a physical, what are all the components that are coming out of that water, okay? And what are the levels? And don't talk to me in billions, talk to me in parts per million. Because when you get to the billion stage, you've already got cancer and you're dead. It's as simple as that. Any good cardiologist or proctologist will tell you. Is GP paying for this river water they're extracting? Do we as citizens, do we get any monetary value back from GP? Or is it they own the river too, they can do what they want with it? We don't charge them one dime for taking all those gallons of water out of the river every day, is that correct?
Right. Well, it's actually Rice Creek they take the water.
Well, they take it out of Natona Creek.
And Etaniah Creek.
Etaniah, is that how you pronounce that?
Has that been looked into to where they would be charged to be, if we file a suit as citizens saying, hey, you're taking my product and you're not giving me a dime for it? And you're making how many bucks off those rolls of toilet paper that you're sending out the back end of the plant? Has that been looked to from the riverkeeper standpoint?
No,
Just
not from our
something I
standpoint.
throw up.